Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to try and get in 3 questions, so I'm going to cut off the answers at about 40 seconds. Famous last words. Dr. Kirwan, you talked a little bit about learning things from other countries. In Colorado, we've worked a lot on creating apprenticeship programs. We took a whole group, 50 people, to Switzerland to study their processes. How have you seen other countries use apprenticeships to recruit and maintain or retain educators?
Senator Hickenlooper, thank you for that question. The commission I chaired studied in great depth these apprenticeship programs and are so impressed by the impact they're having on the economy in these countries. And so we have built that into the blueprint. The goal of the blueprint is to get most kids to career and college ready by the end of the 10th grade. And then they have the option of 3 pathways. One would be advanced placement, another would be early college, and a third pathway is a career and technical education pathway. And in that pathway, students would be expected to complete an apprenticeship or some other industry-certified credential.
Experiential.
Just based exactly on what we learn from these countries. You know, not every kid needs to go to college. There are wonderful jobs out there.
I got it. I agree.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut you off.
All
I
right,
apologize.
thank you.
This is the new Hickenlooper at the table. Mr. Keyes, I think that the experience as a paraprofessional and an educator, a teacher, is so valuable. Earlier this year, the Walton Family Foundation and Gallup did a poll that showed that 48% of Gen Z middle and high school students feel motivated to go to school. That's 48%. The rest don't. I think it's critical that kids feel inspired and motivated to go to school. And whether you're going into an apprenticeship or a 2-year program, a 4-year program, what should we be doing to reach out to students who may be struggling to find inspiration at the school where they're at? How can we reach out to them in the first place to encourage them to consider a future career, let's say in teaching, when they're struggling in school themselves?
What I would say is give them options. Show them that it's not, while they might be having difficulties now, you provide additional supplemental support. You give them options on what's next. Like, okay, myself, I didn't go to college right out of high school. I wish that I had someone sit down with me and explain it. Well, you can do this. Well, you can move into a technical school. You can do career training. There's so many different options out there. School is hard, it is. But when you know you have somebody in your corner supporting you, it makes it a little less hard, and it makes you want to push through, so to speak. And another thing that we could do as far as recruiting those same students into education, offering them positions starting off at the lower tiered education positions, such as bus attendant and paraprofessional. These allow them time to figure out what they want to do and if it's for them, like it did for me.
I like it. Nice. Appreciate that. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about early literacy. And I think this notion of how do we get the right guidance counselors, the right support, I think, Dr. Kirwan, you made that clear that that's a big part of this. I look at, and I've have struggled when I was younger, still struggle with dyslexia, very, very slow reader. Senator Cassidy and I have both worked on this in various ways. I look at the recent assessment by the NAEP that 33% of fourth graders were reading at grade level. That's unacceptable, and obviously several points back from where we slipped in 2019 from where we were. Mr. Pondesio, what does your research experience tell you about why so many people are still struggling, and what does the federal government need to do to better prepare teachers, students, to significantly improve the literacy?
The bad news is we've struggled to teach reading properly for decades. The good news is we have an emerging so-called science of reading movement in this country, which I'm encouraged by. With a caveat, if we have the idea that is at loose in the land that it's about phonics, then we will fall short. I like to point out that in my South Bronx classroom, which was literally the lowest performing school in New York City's lowest performing district, where I taught for several years, I literally never had a single child who was a non-reader. They could all decode, as we say. Kids could read. They struggled with comprehension. So I'm optimistic about the science of reading movement. It should be encouraged at all levels of government, but that's the starting line. The decoding and phonics practices get kids to the starting line. I am a disciple of a man named E.D. Hirsch Jr., who's the son of Virginia, and his core knowledge curriculum, because that's exactly what my students in the South Bronx were lacking. Rich content in history, in art, in music, in literature, etc. Once we get kids to the decoding science, the decoding starting line, then it's all that rich vocabulary and content that needs to be encouraged in order for kids to become language proficient.
Appreciate that. And I'm over time. I apologize.
It's the old Senator Hickenlooper.
No. I was under the wire there with the question.
All right, let's,
Thank you all.
Senator,